Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something super practical. We are taking a real-world, behind-the-scenes coaching session between a professional coach and their client, and we're transforming it into a universal playbook just for you. If you've ever struggled with mental noise, dropped commitments, or just that nagging feeling that you aren't quite stepping into your true leadership potential, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to unpack the exact strategies used in this session to turn inconsistency into bulletproof accountability. Okay, let's dive right into this playbook. We'll be covering 5 core areas today: shifting your leadership mindset, the ultimate accountability system, fulfilling promises through communication, reducing digital anxiety, and finally, building your professional future.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, shifting your leadership mindset.
So, I want you to ask yourself this. Why do we struggle with focus and execution, even when we know exactly what we want to achieve? In the coaching session we're breaking down, the coachee was incredibly capable, right? Had these huge dreams of building an AI business, but kept struggling with the actual follow-through. And honestly, it's a disconnect so many of us face. We've got the vision, but the daily execution just falls short. Why is that?
Well, while reviewing the client's resume, the coach spotted a major behavioral pattern. It's this unconscious habit of shrinking to fit the room. Think about that phrase for a second. How often do you kind of downplay your skills or hesitate to take charge just to, maintain the status quo or avoid standing out? The coach made it crystal clear. To achieve real professional growth, you have to intentionally transform this habit into actively stepping into leadership. I mean, you literally can't lead an empire if you're constantly making yourself smaller.
To actually make this shift, the coach brought out a fascinating technique called excess consciousness clearing. See, when we carry around negative labels, like constantly telling ourselves we're disorganized or we just lack focus, it creates massive mental noise. So the coach advised the client to write down and repeat targeted release statements every single day. He even recommended saying them out loud right in front of a mirror to completely detach from those limiting identities. The goal here is to drop that heavy self-judgment. Once you let go of that baggage, what felt like a heavy anchor can actually become a strategic advantage.
Moving right along to Section 2, the ultimate accountability system.
The coach recommended a very specific and frankly kind of daunting starting point, the number 40. He told the client to write down exactly 40 incomplete tasks. We're talking the whole shebang here. Unclear commitments, outstanding emails, personal chores, massive professional projects. You have to completely drain your mental backlog. Now, if 40 sounds completely overwhelming to you, no worries, the coach offered a backup plan. Start with at least 8 to 10. The magic isn't really the specific number, it's the physical act of getting every single floating obligation out of your head and onto a page.
Once you've got that brain dump list, the next number you need to remember is 5. After you centralize those tasks in a digital tool, the coach specifically shouted out Notion or Google Calendar for this, you literally only need 5 minutes a day to maintain the system. That's it. A recurring daily review. You absolutely don't need some complex, hour-long planning session, just 5 highly focused minutes.
And here is the core framework of this ultimate accountability system. Step 1. List your entire backlog. Step 2. Assign firm completion dates or times to every single item. And hey, if you don't know the exact date, set a date for when you'll actually decide the date. Step 3. Do that 5-minute daily review, looking at yesterday's, today's, and tomorrow's tasks. And finally, Step 4, reallocate anything that slips, and this is absolutely crucial, inform anyone else involved.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, fulfilling promises through communication.
The coach really drove this point home to the client. Fulfilling promises is the absolute bedrock of leadership success and professional credibility. And it's not just about what other people think of you. It deeply impacts your own self-esteem. When you constantly drop the ball, you actually stop trusting yourself. But when you fulfill your promises, your confidence just absolutely skyrockets.
To hammer this home, the coach used this fantastic metaphor about borrowed money. Imagine you owe someone money, and you can't pay them back on the agreed date. What is the absolute worst thing you can do? Avoid them, right? Ignore their calls? That destroys trust in a heartbeat. Well, the exact same logic applies to your deadlines and professional commitments. Failing to communicate a missed deadline radically erodes your credibility as a leader. The power move here is proactive updates, informing people before the deadline comes crashing down.
The specific phrase the coach used for this is inform and align. When a task inevitably slips, because let's be real, life happens, your immediate requirement is to inform and align the involved parties. In this coaching session, the client had a pending task to send a Lenovo resume to his aunt. The instruction wasn't just finish the resume, it was, if it's delayed, inform and align with your aunt. You can't hide from the failure. Communicate, set a new date, and realign. That's exactly how you preserve the relationship.
All right, let's pivot to Section 4, reducing digital anxiety.
To quiet the client's mind, the coach prescribed a highly tactical analog reset. This wasn't just abstract, feel-good advice. First, he told him to order a brand new composition book and start journaling entirely by hand. No typing allowed. The physical act of writing actually slows down your racing mind. Second, he told him to set up screen time management apps, consciously extend the time between checking emails, and just stop anxiously checking his phone all day long. Instead, the coach advised using alarms to trigger scheduled tasks. You basically let the alarm hold the burden of remembering, so your brain gets a much-needed break.
And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, building your professional future.
For the client in our source session, the roadmap was mapped out with incredible clarity across 3 distinct horizons. Immediate, he needed to aggressively pursue active corporate job interviews in Harrisburg and Indianapolis just to secure financial stability. Short-term, he had generated 5 AI business ideas using Claude Enterprise, and his task was to send those to the coach for some realistic feedback. Long-term, the ultimate goal was to launch his very own LLC focused on AI security and red team penetration testing. It's a great example of how daily accountability directly feeds into these massive, long-term entrepreneurial goals.
But honestly, how do you sustain that momentum when things get super tough? The client openly acknowledged some very real fears here. The fear of failure, the fear of running out of money. To combat this, the coach advised the daily practice of being in the question. He actually provided a document full of empowering questions and told the client to select just one question every single day to center his mind. Instead of dwelling on a negative statement like, "I'm gonna fail," you live in a question like, "What is the most high-leverage action I can take right now?" It literally forces your brain to hunt for solutions instead of wallowing in anxiety.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to turn the focus directly back to you. I want you to examine your own backlog right now. Think about the things you've been putting off, the emails you haven't sent, the big ideas you just haven't executed yet. Ask yourself, what is the one incomplete promise you need to act on today to truly step into your leadership potential? Pick that one thing, go do it, and start building your empire. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.